It's a pleasure to welcome you back to this video series, Introduction to Reiki. In the first video, we looked at the question, what is Reiki? And in this video, we'll look more closely at the topics of training, ethics, and history. Hi again, my name is Jeremy Fulweiler, a Reiki Master Teacher and the founder of Wellness Beyond Words. To learn more about Wellness Beyond Words, check out our website, wellnessbeyondwords.com. But now, let's get back to the training series. So before we get into the training information, let's take a moment to recap briefly what this working definition of Reiki is. Reiki is a simple and potent system of healing using universal life energy to strengthen and harmonize one's natural healing abilities. Anything can receive it, and anyone can practice it. Okay, so how do you learn it? Well, a traditional Reiki training program will have 3 levels. Sometimes these levels are also known as stages or degrees. Level 1 presents the basics of Reiki, including the basic hand positions for self and others. It also introduces one to the ethics and basic energy concepts, such as one's energy field. Particularly in the way that I offer training of Reiki, I really emphasize the embodiment of self as healer. We work with the mind, we work with the body, opening and grounding oneself up at every level, as you'll see. Also at the first level is the first of 3 Reiki attunements. So what is a Reiki attunement anyway? Well, it's an energetic ritual similar to Reiki itself, and it nourishes healing seeds in the student that have always been present. The Reiki attunement doesn't offer anything new or put anything new into someone. It helps to reveal and support what's already there. So I think of it as helping, like fertilizing the garden of our own healing abilities. And further, it connects the student with their Reiki lineage. And we'll explore the significance of this just a little later in this video. And so level 2 presents the first 3 Reiki symbols, the basic Reiki symbols, and really works with the student to find ways of applying these symbols in their life. Additionally, these symbols can be applied for what's referred to as distance healing. But also these symbols can be used in a number of different ways, supporting, clarifying, and intensifying the way that Reiki is used. Additionally, specific energy concepts such as the chakras or chakras are gone over, and further embodiment of self as healer and the level 2 attunement. Now at the third level, there are the final Reiki symbols of mastery and the application of these symbols for attuning others. Specific energy concepts that are gone over at the third level include the auras, and again, further work with embodying self as healer, particularly critical when it comes to attuning others to be Reiki practitioners themselves. The Reiki master needs to be able to open to and move quite a bit of energy to support that. And the final attunement. Now we'll take a look at the ethical principles of Reiki. Regardless of the skill level of the practitioner, as long as the intention of the session is Reiki, the recipient cannot and will not be harmed in any way. Reiki is completely and fully benevolent. It's incapable of causing harm. That said, let's go over these ethical principles to further ensure this. And these ethics are actually beautiful energetic teachings. The first one emphasizes don't force, while the second one emphasizes don't hoard. So, the first ethical principle is bring Reiki only to those who wish to receive it. You can offer, or people can request, but there's no forcing. Remember, Reiki is life force energy. It's got the force already built in. We don't need to add any additional force to it. In the event that the recipient is unable to verbally consent, such as working with a small child or even the earth, you can offer the Reiki with the intent that the recipient's higher self determine if the Reiki offered will actually be received by the recipient. And if not, that the Reiki support the healing of another recipient or being nearby. The second ethical principle is allow for the fair exchange of energy. Sometimes this is done through money or bartering, and sometimes a pay-it-forward agreement may be made between the practitioner and the recipient. This is the don't hoard energy principle. Reiki energy and all energy relies on movement. Stagnant energy causes negative impact, so it's important that just as the Reiki energy came from the source and moved through the practitioner, that it also be able to move through the recipient and not get stuck there. So these are 2 Reiki ethical principles that help with everyone's energy hygiene. And now let's take a look at the history of Reiki. It'll bring us back to the later part of the 1800s. Dr. Mikao Usui was a seeker of healing. He wanted deeply to understand the methods of healing, and particularly those that use energy. He did a lot of studying on this, read a lot, learned a lot, but he noticed that as much as he learned about it, it didn't, quote unquote, make him a healer. There was something missing. So what Dr. Usui did is he went for a 21-day solitary retreat. And as it's said, on the 21st day, the darkest hour before the dawn, he is flooded with a vision of light. This vision offers him the symbols, the practice, the positions, the information about Reiki. And Dr. Usui had a sense that this wasn't him discovering Reiki, but a sense of him recovering something that had been learned before, but also lost and forgotten, and that he was re-ushering it into his society, into his culture. In fact, into our world. So he began doing that immediately, working with Reiki energy to support the healing of others. And he had Reiki students as well. The first of his lineage is Dr. Chujiro Hayashi. Dr. Hayashi continued Usui's work past Usui's death in 1926. And then at some point in the earlier 1930s, Hawayo Takada, a woman from Hawaii, came to Japan seeking this type of healing. She was experiencing dramatic and very difficult medical conditions that required potentially life-threatening surgery. She didn't want to go the surgery direction, she wanted to go this direction. And she did. Within 3 to 4 months, she was completely healed. And after some time, was trained to practice Reiki, and not only trained to practice it, but she became the next in line of this lineage. And over the coming decades, particularly the 1970s, Mrs. Takada brought Reiki to the continental United States, to Canada, and to Europe, tuning a number of Reiki masters, really helping to plant the seeds of Reiki much more globally than before. So thank you, Mrs. Takada, for your brave and powerful work. So this brings us to what I've been referring to as the Reiki lineage. It's a line that allows you to trace your training all the way back to Dr. Mikao Usui himself. And this is important to keep in mind because the experience that Dr. Usui had, that 21st day where he was flooded with light, this was the first Reiki attunement. So the attunement is something that happens, as stated before, in each level of Reiki training as a way of further deepening the connection between the student and their lineage, so that you're not only tapping into the current and present universal life force energy, you're also able to tap into the energy, the intention, and the intensity of this entire lineage. So I'm hopeful that this video has helped answer some of your questions about the training around Reiki, the ethical principles, and the lineage and its history. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact me through wellnessbeyondwords.com. You'll also find information there on upcoming retreats and workshops, as well as other services. Again, I'd like to remind you that you are a healer. Whether it be Reiki or another healing art or practice altogether, this is your birthright. I appreciated getting to spend this time with you and to share this information with you. Thank you so very much. I wish you wellness beyond words.